back to the Gary Sutton Show on WSBA, and a lot of us have our eyes kind of fixed on Harrisburg and what's going on up there. Yesterday, something went on. The Senate has passed the Paycheck Protection Bill. I remember when people said, "Oh, you can't do anything with pay. You can't." That's seriously, you're not really thinking you could get that passed. Well, it got passed through the Senate. What will it take to get it through the House? And also the budget impasse. What's going on there? We thought we'd ask State Senator Scott Wagner about that this morning from the 28th Senatorial District, and he graciously accepted our request. And good morning to you, Scott. How you doing?
Gary, good morning. It's Friday morning. It's a beautiful day, and I'm ready to talk business with you.
Yeah, well, I got it. Business is. You've been talking a lot about something, and it really got me thinking the other day. And I thought to myself, if government doesn't do its job, getting the money to where it's supposed to right now. I've got a nephew, for example, who works for a charter school, and he's working for free right now. And he's not in a real good financial situation. I'm sure you could take that times thousands of people in Pennsylvania. But I'm thinking to myself, if you had people not pay their taxes in during a time when we went over the time the budget was supposed to be in, don't you think it'd get it solved in about 2 minutes?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You've been talking about that for a while. Yeah.
Hey, quick question. Which charter school does your nephew work for?
I can't tell you right now.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's. I don't want to put too much notoriety on him, but he's working for one right here in the area. So,
well, if he's working, he's probably working for one of the two in the city, and
yep.
They're in tough financial spots right now because of this budget. And I've been working with the Lincoln Charter School and the Thaxton Charter School, and
right.
What's really amazing, Gary. A week and a half ago on a Wednesday, I know a teacher at Lincoln, and longtime friend, and she called and just said, how's the budget coming? And we talked, and so I said, she told me that that they're having that there's salary issues, and they're not able to pay vendors, and so I stopped by. It was this past Wednesday, a week ago, on a Wednesday morning. And the school was having a safety awareness day for all the
right.
students, and it's a K-5 school, and they have right around 700. I think it's 752 students that are there, and these are kids that are in kindergarten through fifth grade. They're innocent parties. They're they're like little teddy bears, and they're cute kids. They're very polite. They're wearing their school uniforms, and you know what amazed me is I got a tremendous sense, and I stayed. I was I was not invited to the event,
right?
But I showed up, and they immediately included me in the event, and I got to meet a lot of people, and I spent time with the principal afterwards. But this budget is they're really they're living from paycheck to paycheck, and they're running out of money, and these children are being victimized. Governor Wolf could have approved over 270 items on the budget, and it would have allowed funding to continue to the schools, and they get and I'm learning the complexity. Lincoln gets money from the York City School District, where Thaxton gets their money from the state.
Right.
And Lincoln is K-5. But at the end of the day, I have to give the teachers at Lincoln a tremendous amount of credit, because I think they were working with salary reductions. And you go over to Thaxton. They are really in a bad financial situation right now, because their money's being held up, and so the money that the state should have paid them for June, July, and August hasn't come through. So, when you lose 25% of your cash flow, you run out of oxygen. The diver's going to die on the bottom of the ocean. So, but I just think that it is so critical that these two schools stay open, because a lot of these children come from distressed families, and you know what? It's I could tell you a kindergarten through fifth grader, these kids they look forward to going to school because it's a safe sanctuary for
right.
them. They have friends, the family setting, the whole nine yards. So this budget thing, Governor Wolf, and again, he vetoed an emergency funding package that we sent to him almost 3 weeks ago. So, but anyway, it's sad, and I'm continuing to work with both of those schools.
I know, and I think that's the kind of thing. My mother was reminding me this morning, many years ago, back when I was a kid, that We lived up in the northern part of Pennsylvania, up in a place called East Smithfield. It was in Bradford County. And she said, we had a budget situation like this, but she said, the store gave us credit and said, hey, when it gets settled, you take care of paying for it and stuff like that. And I think what you're talking about is where the community steps in and helps and understands a little bit. But we're in different times now, I think, than those old days where the community kind of worked together in these kind of moments. But I guess what really bothers me a lot, Scott, is the idea that, here's a governor who talks about how he wants to put all this money in education. He wants to help people. He wants to do this. And he's hurting, as you said, those very people right now that he claims he wants to help. And the fact that he can kind of sit back and kind of fiddle while Rome burns, to me, is unconscionable.
Well, Gary, that leads into, I think you want to have a little conversation about the Paycheck Protection. And let me just, for just full disclosure purposes, the teachers at Thaxton and Lincoln that work for the charter schools are not members of a teachers union, the PSEA. They are working for anywhere between 25 and 40% less than teachers in some of the surrounding districts. So there's a tremendous amount of loyalty, and they care about what they're doing. But let's move on to Paycheck Protection. When Governor Wolf ran for office, he took a tremendous amount, or accepted, willingly accepted. They handed him a check, and he willingly accepted checks from virtually all of the public sector unions. One of the public sector unions is the PSEA, which is the Pennsylvania State Education Association, a.k.a. the teachers union. And I think I sent an email out a couple weeks ago. I think I have a conspiracy theory that it wasn't my idea. I heard it from a House member who came over to see me in my office one day, and he said, "Listen, the PSEA hates charter schools. So if the governor chokes off the budget right now and can choke off charter schools, then the PSEA has accomplished what they want to do." Well, Governor, I guarantee you. And we did pass Paycheck Protection, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But when Paycheck Protection was passed it was passed on Tuesday. ABC 27 did a story, and it was everybody. The largest voice that was opposing what we were doing was the PSEA. They had their spokesman was on. It's not right.
Right.
This teachers union has gotten way too powerful, and I know a lot of teachers, and I can tell you there are a lot of teachers that have no clue that what their union is doing and the power that their union has, and if they would be shocked if they knew. And so that leads into Paycheck Protection. And Gary, basically, this was a bill that was sponsored by Senator Eichelberger. I introduced Paycheck Protection 2 times last year. One was an amendment on a bill. It was defeated, and then we had another one that was also defeated. It was a tie. So there were 2 Paycheck Protection votes that I was able to get to the floor last year. And then Senator Eichelberger had a bill. And Senator Eichel, there's 2 forms of dues deduction. Or 2 parts. There is the fair share portion, which would go towards, employing the people at the PSEA, negotiations, grievances, stuff like that.
Right.
And then there are the political contribution side. And Senator Eichelberger from up in Blair County, Altoona. The bottom line is, and this is a statement. The sponsor, Senator John Eichelberger, Republican, Blair County, said the bill would make it clear that the government cannot collect political money through their payroll system. Right. So every school district in my Senate district, the 28, Dallastown Central, Red Lion, all the school districts, West York, Spring Grove, when the teachers get paid, those school districts are required to pull the dues out of the teacher paychecks and forward those dues onto the unions. Now, Gary, I've been in the Senate for 18 months, and even before when I announced I was going to run, I engaged an elections compliance attorney. I engaged an attorney in Washington, and then after I was sworn into office, I changed, and he recommended I use someone in the state. So I've been using someone in the state, for the last 18 months. And about 2 months ago, I made a change because my elections compliance attorney had a change in his practice. So I've hired what I believe is probably if he may be the top elections compliance attorney in the state of Pennsylvania. And so what I'm doing is I have to dot every I and cross every T. If you receive an email from me, that is from Scott Wagner for Senate.
Right.
That is my campaign website. If you receive an email blast from Senator Scott Wagner, that is my official website in Harrisburg that's paid for by Pennsylvania taxpayers.
Right.
I can't use that website for campaign purposes, nor can I use. There's many things that I can't do. I just received a bill last week for $6,000 from my elections compliance attorney for the last 2 months to make sure that I am completely in compliance. I dot every I, cross every T. So I am being scrutinized as a senator. But meanwhile, the unions, they just believe that they can just have dues money taken out and they can use it however they want to do it. The PSEA has probably given money. I'm going to be maybe a little bold on this, but I think I'm probably pretty close. I think the PSEA has given at least 60% of the House and Senate members political money over the last, that are probably currently in office right now. And they have given a lot of money over the years. They employ a lobbying firm, Long Nyquist in Harrisburg, and Long Nyquist. There's an issue there. Long Nyquist represents House and Senate members. There's a tremendous amount of conflict. And then if you look at the PSEA has a monthly newsletter that comes out. It's called The Voice. Well, when Governor Wolf was running, during his political campaign, The Voice was probably a 12 or 14-page newsletter. Eight pages were devoted to trashing Governor Corbett, and you should vote for Governor Wolf. And, so I can't, I have to go out, literally, I have to go out and I have to ask people to donate to my campaign. I have fundraisers. I have to report, I think the bottom line is the unions. Just think the teachers. There are 180,000 teachers in the state of Pennsylvania that have that their dues are being automatically deducted every pay period. I mean, Gary, I would love to have a business where I didn't have to send bills out and I had no collection issues. But the PSEA, Gary, if the PSEA has 180,000 members, okay, and they're collecting, and again, I don't know the exact number, but I know it's at least 800 per year. They're collecting $144 million.
Right.
And they are using a lot of that for political purposes. But meanwhile,
the idea that ought to be separated the way it is separated out here in the private sector and even in the public sector. You have to be careful. I know our Congress. You have to do the same thing in Congress. You can't do business together. We had a few people went to jail in the state because of some of that. I want to come back with you, Scott, and talk a little bit more about this, a little bit more about the budget, and kind of separate some of this out for people out there who are constituents. Scott Wagner, 28th Senatorial District, State Senator, with us here on the Gary Sutton Show. We'll be right back. It's News Radio 910, WSBA. Welcome back to the Gary Sutton Show on WSBA with State Senator Scott Wagner from the 28th Senatorial District. Scott, on Wednesday, the governor came out and said that he had taken $1 billion in concessions out of his original spending plan, but the Republicans have not reciprocated to help end Pennsylvania's budget impasse, which is now, I believe, in its 109th day today. And he said, according to him, this is an exact quote, he said, quote, "I have actually conceded on things like liquor. I have conceded on things like pensions. I have not seen a willingness on their side to agree. So I don't know how long this is going to take or whether we're making progress at this point or not. We have a deficit that's not going to go away by just wishing it away," unquote. Your reaction?
Well, Gary, I'm beginning to become so entertained and amused by Governor Wolf and his statements, his press secretary. Listen, I'm going to stick by this statement. We don't have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem. Harrisburg needs to go on a diet. Governor Wolf has not publicly stated a single cost-cutting, waste elimination or efficiency initiative. Governor Wolf is, again, I'm so entertained. I remember the ads, how he turned around his family business and, oh, shucks, I drive a Jeep and I'm from York. Heck, somebody told me a couple weeks ago that Governor Wolf hasn't lived in York for 10 years, that he actually lives in Philadelphia. He just maintains his Mount Wolf home. So apparently he has a condo, and that's where he spends all his time. Pennsylvania needs a turnaround right now. And I'm in business. And if you are doing a business turnaround, you don't go in with the number one item on your turnaround list, raise prices to customers, and number two, look at waste and spending cuts, and he's got this thing backwards, and all he wants to do, Governor Wolf, wants to raise prices, and I got to tell you, when you go down in the weeds, it's going to cost the average family about $1,500 more per year, and why is if Governor Wolf wants to pour more money in education, why is he not willing to look at eliminating prevailing wage mandates for school districts?
Yeah.
York Suburban this past summer, Gary, put roofs on a bunch of their buildings, and I may not have the numbers correct, but it's pretty close. I think they spent like $2.8 million on the roofs, and they had to use prevailing wage mandate labor rates. Had they not had to use prevailing wage
my next question,
labor,
what would it have cost?
The number was around $2.2 million. It was about a $600,000 difference. And so, Governor, and just think if we did this all over the state, I believe the school districts could save somewhere between $300 and $400 million. That's a lot of money. But Governor Wolf's not going down that path because Governor Wolf is partners with the union.
Yep.
Okay, and at the end of the day, listen. You know what I love, Gary? I go to Walmart every now and then, and when you pull into a Walmart parking lot, half of the vehicles in the Walmart parking lot out in East York are pickups, and I'd say 25% of them have union stickers on the back. Well, why are the union members going to Walmart? Because they buy stuff cheap, okay?
Right.
They're not going to go down the street and pay $2 more for a can of something when they can buy it at Walmart for $4 and it costs $6 down the street. I mean, hey, union members are thrifty also. Hey, by the way, Gary, if your toilet backed up at your home, would you call a union plumber to come to your house? Would you look through the yellow pages and specifically look for a union plumber to come to your house
to
unclog your toilet?
No.
And by the way, if the union plumber came out, would you be willing to pay prevailing wage? Would you be willing to pay that plumber $150 an hour versus, a free enterprise plumber at $75?
No.
Maybe you would. I don't know. How many union people out there call a union plumber when their toilet backs up? So,
here's a point that they made in this article I was reading the other day. I guess it was written by Jacob Cato and Tom Fontaine up in the Pitt Tribune Review. And they said the governor had 6 months. This was from quote from House Majority Leader Dave Reed. And he said, governor had 6 months to make his case, but he didn't have the votes. And the same thing happened last week. I mean, we saw it go up before the House last week. And the governor going in there says, I think I have enough votes to win this. He loses 127 to 73. That included 9 Democrats voting against him from, down in the southwestern part of the state where they do have Marcellus Shale. 2 Democrats don't even show up to vote. And the governor gets drilled. I mean, how bad? And then comes out afterward and says, we came closer to getting to a balanced budget today. There's a lot of Democratic support. And I'm thinking, you lost 11 people off your team. How'd that work? You and I both deal in the real world. I know what a loss looks like, and I know what a win looks like, and that wasn't a win. About a minute to go. Final thoughts.
Gary, the governor, you have to understand, the governor Wolf is a nice guy. Would I want to have dinner with him? No. But he's a very educated, smart guy. He went to Stanford, MIT, tells everybody that. And he is so smart, he has no common sense. Where I'm not as educated as Governor Wolf. I didn't have the opportunity, boarding schools and all that kind of stuff. But I have common sense because I've had to survive in the real business world. This guy, although he lost in the budget vote, he still thinks. Listen, he walked. Every in America on a Saturday morning, every child gets a trophy.
Yep.
Well, Governor Wolf, somebody gave him a trophy and said, "Oh, good job. Here's your trophy." And
right.
he thinks he won. He didn't. Listen, I'm not voting for any tax increases until we hold Governor Wolf accountable for the tax dollars that go to Harrisburg.
And by the way, let me ask you one favor, and you've already done this, but it'd be great to put a bill up before the Senate and say, by the way, in the future, when we have budget impasses like this, let's have the taxpayers stop paying taxes. Let's not have the right to take taxes out until the budget impasse gets solved. How's that?
Oh, I think that's great. But I am actually thinking about another bill. I'm thinking about a bill that we could cut Philadelphia off of the rest of Pennsylvania and let Philadelphia go on their own, because you know what? Governor Wolf is really representing Philadelphia in this budget.
Well, I got to run on this one, Scott, but I like the idea. I've suggested it before. Give it back to New Jersey or sell it to them. We can take some money for that. We'll get a pretty good paycheck. Hey, take care, my friend. Thank you so much, Scott. Appreciate it.
See you. Bye-bye.
We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye. Scott Wagner with us on the Gary Sutton Show. I like that idea. Gives Philadelphia back, and all their problems could go with them, too, right?